Welcome back to Hannity. Show's radical Islam spreading to American soil. Now, over the weekend, according to police, a Michigan man named Terrence Thomas brutally attacked two people with a knife after asking them if they were Muslim. Now, the victims indicated they were not Muslim. Thomas then stabbed each of them multiple times. Joining me now with analysis is the executive director of the Detroit Crime Commission, Andrew Arena is with us. Sir, welcome to the program. There's a very large Muslim population, well-known Detroit area, Dearborn, Michigan, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this guy asks if they're Muslim. They say no. They get stabbed multiple times. Sounds like a hate crime to me.
It could be, Sean. I mean, I think that we've got to kind of see where the evidence falls out. It could be a hate crime. It could be a terrorist act. Well, it could be just some crazy lunatic.
Well, there's obviously some component here because he says, are you Muslim? No. And they get stabbed to death. Or stabbed multiple times, rather.
Right.
All right.
So I think law enforcement goes through the evidence here as they talk to the witnesses, as they look to, quite frankly, what he was doing on social media. That really is the key nowadays as to kind of what these people are thinking. As I said, it could be a hate crime. It might be a terrorist attack. We'll see. What
are we discovering? High Muslim population. What is law enforcement doing about radicals that are known in the area?
Well, I think there's two components, Sean. I think, first of all, is what do you know and what don't you know? Here in Detroit, the FBI and federal law enforcement have done an outstanding job of community outreach. A lot of it is based on personal relationships with community leaders. And so you're trying to find out what you don't know, and that is really kind of your first set of eyes and ears. The second part, as you said, is the people that we do know. I think what you're seeing and what's playing out around the world stage right now is intelligence agencies around the world do not have enough assets to really attack this problem.
All right, so what about, like, we know in Chicago, Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan has said incendiary, anti-Semitic, racist things over the years. I'd like to think law enforcement has an eye on him. What about radical imams or radicals that have been identified in the area? Law enforcement keeping an eye on these guys?
Well, I'm sure they are, Sean.
You sure they
obviously
are?
The question is, First Amendment speech, protected speech, or is this radical, recruiting type speech? So if it crosses the line, I'm sure that the FBI is definitely on top of this.
All right, I hope so. And we're going to follow the case and find out what happens. Let's see if the president mentions this, because he was very quick to mention the case in North Carolina. 3 Muslims shot, turned out to be a parking dispute, and he mentioned religion there. But, of course, he doesn't mention religion at the summit that we've been discussing. All right, sir, thank you. Appreciate it. Also tonight, Syrian refugees. Should they be coming to America? Well, they are in record numbers. My next guest is very concerned about it. Joining us now is House Homeland Security Chairman, Congressman Michael McCaul is with us. Congressman, apparently the president now wants to increase the number of Syrian refugees coming into America. This is the home of ISIS. How do we know that the people that we let in are not sympathetic towards or even a part of this group?
Well, we don't know that. This is a very dangerous and reckless policy. In my judgment, I chaired an oversight hearing with the FBI, with Homeland Security, with the National Counterterrorism Center. All 3 witnesses stated that this would pose a greater risk to Americans if we bring in these refugees from Syria that have not been properly vetted. And the FBI admitted they don't have the databases to properly vet these refugees. I was actually over there, Sean, and the Jordanian Minister of Interior told me he doesn't know who these people are. So why in the world, we're working hard to keep these foreign fighters out of the United States. Why in the world would we have a federally sanctioned government program to bring thousands of Syrian refugees into the United States that could pose a greater risk to Americans?
Well, it's estimated, the 4 million have been forced to flee Syria, 7 million out of their homes, 500 have already come to the United States. And how many is the president talking about bringing in? And what is the vetting process to find out where their sympathies lies? In other words, are they somewhat sympathetic to ISIS? How are we going to know? How do we ascertain that? You almost have to read somebody's heart to find out what they're thinking, right?
Well, I think that's exactly right. And the FBI, again, said because we don't have an intelligence footprint on the ground in Syria, we really don't know who these individuals are that we're just going to bring into the United States. 500
how many is he
talking?
In. How many is he talking about? Thousands?
Thousands
of Syrians are going to come in here. I don't think we have the manpower to possibly vet all the people he's talking about, do we?
We don't, and we can't even monitor them when they come here. Remember, even in Iraq, we had refugees coming in from Iraq, and we had 2 terrorists that killed Americans in Iraq that were allowed to come into the United States, and that's with all the intelligence on the ground we had in Iraq. This is, again, I think a very dangerous policy that I'm glad you're covering this story because more Americans need to know about this. I sent a letter to National Security Advisor Susan Rice asking her to explain why she's doing this and to try to stop this from happening. My job as chairman of Homeland Security is to protect the American people. I believe this will put Americans at risk.
You know, they are burning people to death. They're beheading people. There are firing squads. There's torture. There is, now we know about the slave trade of women on top of harvesting organs. And we're going to risk taking people without proper vetting or following them here? We don't have the capacity to handle that. That is a really stupid idea. I hope you stay on top of it and stop it.
Well, and one last thing, ISIS has telegraphed that they want to exploit the refugee process to gain interest into the West and the United States.
They want to see us
stop that.
They want to meet us in New York, and they want to raise the flag of Islam on the White House. That's what they have said. So, all right, sir, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Sean.
Now, when we come back, there's a trial of an accused al-Qaeda terrorist charged with being part of a plan to blow up the New York City subway system. That's going on. Kimberly Guilfoyle is here. She's going to break down this case and also the latest on the American Sniper trial. Also, later tonight, some donations to the Clinton Foundation are raising huge red flags. Foreign governments like Saudi Arabia could be funding her potential presidential campaign. Ainsley Earhart, others here with a full report tonight.